Okay, enough talks about workplace relationship. Now it's time to talk about something very serious. It is time for the interview segments in Tea or Coffee. And today, what are we talking about? We're talking about the 21st century teacher. Now, a lot of things have changed when it comes to education and how teachers teach in classrooms and how they deliver what they have to offer. So want to know what exactly makes the 21st century teacher unique? What are the characteristics that they have? Is there something, peculiar about them? And is there something that every other teacher in this 21st century have to learn and have to pick up on? Now, to have this conversation on the 21st century teacher is a beautiful lady with me here. She's an educator. Her name is Kemi Ogunsonya. You're welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yes, so let's have this conversation. We're talking about the 21st century teacher.
Yes.
What is different about the 21st century teacher? What makes them different from the teachers we had in the 90s and in the 80s?
Awesome. Okay, so I wasn't born in the 80s, I was born in the 90s. Okay, but even from the education I had, I know that what I had that time is quite different from what we have now.
Okay.
The 21st century teacher is different in a lot of ways, and I'll just mention about 3 ways.
Okay.
First of all, the 21st century teacher has an access to technology, okay, has an access to different resources, online resources that you can leverage on to give your students a better experience. Okay, during the time I was in school, I'm not even going far back as the 80s or 70s or all that. I don't think my teacher ever displayed or projected any notes for me with a whiteboard. I don't think we ever did. Maybe there was nothing like gamification, like use of games for learning. I don't think I did much of project-based learning. Okay, it's something we are doing now. And the 21st century teacher isn't teacher-centered. The 21st century teacher is student-centered. The approach is student-centered. I mean, the focus is not on you as the teacher. The focus is on the students. So the 21st century teacher places a great emphasis on the students rather than himself or herself.
Okay, so what made us realize that we need to make that shift from the teacher-centered type of learning to student-centered?
Okay, the world is evolving in different ways. Okay, different sectors of the society are, making advancements, and the teacher-centered approach wasn't just working the way it should work, or it wasn't achieving so much. And then there was this realization that the student-centered approach can achieve more, and that's why we had to make that. So that's why the education world had to make that switch. Yes.
Okay, now I'm very particular about education. And I feel like one person that is key when it comes to education is the teacher. Because you are the one that stays in the classroom, teach the students, and then prepare them for the future that is ahead of them. Now, would you say that the education in Nigeria, we have teachers that have the 21st century mental approach when it comes to teaching?
Okay.
Would you say that we have these type of teachers? I've seen, cases where they use, you told me, gamification, all these things in teaching students. We see them on social media, a teacher doing this, just to that they learn it and everything. But do we have more of them now? With the fact that we are in the 21st century in Nigeria, I'm coming home. Do you think that we have more of them?
We do. Yes, we do. Yes, I can say we do. I mean, across different schools, it might not be 100% yet, but I know we have teachers like that. And then there's this. We are growing. That's it. So that growth is spreading across different, teachers, and everybody is adapting to what you really should be.
Okay. So now let's talk about the uniqueness of the 21st century teacher. What are the characteristics that a 21st century teacher should have?
Okay, so first of all, besides just being a 21st century teacher, there are 21st century skills that every individual should have, regardless of who you are. So if as a teacher you're able to, have these skills, you're like good to go. We have learning skills, we have literacy skills, we have life skills, life skills like leadership. As a teacher is also a leader. You are not just the person standing in front pouring knowledge into the students. A teacher is also a leader. We have innovation, we have creativity, we have creative thinking, we have collaboration. A teacher is not just a loner in the classroom or in the school. The use of media, the use of technology, how to harness information. So all those are 21st century skills that an individual should, have, and every teacher should also have. That flexibility, it's a 21st century skill that a teacher must have. Forward thinking, looking beyond the present. Okay, the 21st century teacher isn't preparing students for just the present. No, you're not just teaching them things based on everything that is happening now. No, you're projecting into the future, and then you are teaching them based on that.
Amazing. Now, I know one of the challenges I feel, you will tell me challenges that they face, but there's one that I'm particular about that I want to inquire from you, how they can find a way around it. Now, the 21st century teacher, you said they should be tech savvy. And for a 21st century teacher that is working in a public school, they may not have this basic amenities, this basic requirements that they need, to teach these students effectively. So how can they still make it work? As a 21st century teacher, that is not just being the boss in the classroom, but being the leader, teaching them and preparing them for the future ahead.
So being a teacher is many things to me. Being a teacher is an adventurous experience for me. Being a teacher for me is sacrifice. Being a teacher means sometimes, I'm coming back to the question, but I want to, being a teacher means sometimes I put myself aside and go beyond borders to do things for my students. Now, coming to the area of public school teachers and what they can do, because that sometimes public school teachers don't have access to a lot of resources. If you are that teacher, that you don't have enough resources from the school, and then you still put your students first, I believe somehow, your own resources might go into it. That's the truth. So in some little way, you might not be totally dependent on the school. You have a personal laptop. It's not the school that gave it to you. You can bring it to the classroom. You can maximize it for the use of your students.
So you're saying that they should go out of their comfort zone. They should make sacrifices, because it's not just about being a teacher as a title. But it's like a calling upon them. Now tell me the other challenges that the 21st century teacher faces. One
challenge I know the 21st century can face is working in an unsuitable work environment. An environment that doesn't support your growth, an environment where you don't have adequate resources, an environment that is not even conducive for the learners or even the teachers. I mean, for me as a teacher, I've taught for about 7 years now, and the last 5 years has been like my best experience. Where I work currently gives me opportunities to grow. I'm being invested in local trainings, international trainings. My learning environment is conducive for the learners and even for me. So when these things are not available, you find out that it's challenging for the teacher to even achieve anything or achieve much. That's one.
Okay, continue, please. Go ahead.
So you have a challenge the teacher could also face is coping with diverse needs of the learners. We have different kinds of learners. That's something the 21st century teacher does, being conscious of the fact that your learners aren't just all the same. I know during our time, or when I was in school, not like I'm that old. But the teacher just taught us, everyone in the class the same way. Everybody do the same, they do the same classwork and all of that. No, things have changed. Recognize the way each child learns.
There's something,
there's something called the multiple intelligence theory. Every child has, a unique kind of intelligence. You don't just base your intelligence based on academic. This child is good in maths, this child is good in English. No, there are other ways you can get, across the children. There are children that have musical intelligence. There are children that have bodily kinesthetic intelligence. So if you're the one that just comes to the front of the class and just talks, the child is, bored and lost. So coping with diverse needs of learners is another challenge. This still falls back to availability of resources somehow, because if you don't have resources to cater for the different kinds of learners, if you're not innovative enough, a 21st century teacher must be innovative. If you're not innovative to create instructional materials or resources that will spice up the learning, it becomes a big challenge.
Is that all the challenges you want to say? Because now talking about students and learners not being the same. Now I'm putting myself in the position of other students. Maybe I have a particular student that has a uniqueness. Maybe he doesn't like me just coming to class and just talking. you know, or there's something specific about the maybe person likes maybe using diagrams. I'm just looking for how to balance it. But then, you know, all these learners are in the school to learn.
True.
And they have the same time frame to learn. And you want to meet every single person's need.
Good.
How can you achieve that?
Okay, so that's just the work of planning, proper planning.
Okay.
Okay. Once you're preparing your lesson notes, once you're preparing your worksheets, your resources, okay, you are able to know, okay, this can work for this child. If you get it, if it's the time you step in front of the class, I remember, oh, this child likes to do this child, how do I? It's already, you will waste the time you have, but if you've prepared ahead, you'll be able to cater for the different kinds of learners.
Okay,
yes.
now I want to believe that proprietors, proprietresses, people that employ 21st century teachers are watching us now, and I also want to believe that they want to know how they can help. Because you're talking about resources, talking about being in an environment that supports your dream and the teacher and everything.
Yes.
So how can an employer of 21st century teacher, you know, help a 21st century teacher be their best, you know, and deliver their best to the learners?
Okay, so I'm going to use an example of my school. I'm sure. Am I allowed to mention?
You're allowed to mention.
I'm not allowed to mention.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so I'll use myself as a case study, and I'll tell you. Just like I said before, first of all, you want to help the 21st century teacher. Invest in them. Okay, invest in them. Give them opportunities to go for trainings. You'll find out some teachers, since they finish from university or colleges of education and all that, they don't go for other trainings. You know, things are changing. If you're not exposed to more information, how do you get better on the job? So I mean, exposing your teachers to training sessions. Some of them don't come cheap, true, but there's a price to pay if you really want, you know, the 21st century.
Let's just put it positive that we have a caller. Adiola from Lagos. Hello, Adiola.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, Adiola.
All right, I have a very quick question.
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Adiola.
Hello, can you hear me?
Can you speak up a little?
Hello, can you hear me?
Okay, we can hear you now.
Yes, we can.
All right, so talking about the 21st century teacher, I want to talk on the case of discipline. Now, growing up, there was the whole beating and punishment for students and children, both in primary, secondary schools. I want to ask if that still works for a 21st century teacher. Are you allowed to discipline children in this way or manner that we were? Because, I mean, we were flogged with canes and half whips, and we were punished. We were asked to do aeroplane and helicopter and face the wall and kneel down and raise up your hand and all of that.
Yes.
But these days, I don't really see that in school. And how am I ensured that, as a parent, how am I ensured that discipline will be enforced on my kids? And is it even right? Flogging children and all of that, because it bothers me a lot, and I also want to be sure that my child will be a good citizen in the nation. So how does it work for a 21st century teacher? Thank you.
Thank you, Adiola. You know the funny thing and the amazing thing about Adiola's question is that was the next question I had on my list. You know, but I want you to finish what you're talking about before we go into that.
Okay, so just like I said, investing in teachers, providing resources, supporting the teachers' growth, okay? For proprietors, for head teachers, they must be willing to stand by their teachers. Okay, you have situations where in some schools, you have the proprietors or head mistresses and all that being just, you know, standing just by the parents. Whatever the parents want is what happens in the school, regardless of the teachers' emotions, regardless of the teachers' concerns and all that. So, standing by your teachers, supporting them all the way is one way to.
Okay, so now let's go to Adiola's question, talking about the 21st century teacher and discipline. How does it work in the 21st century?
Okay, the approach to discipline right now is not just is changing, it's changed already from, you know, flogging, doing frog jump. Okay, so discipline in itself, or I'll start with the root cause behind a child's action is what the 21st century teacher addresses.
Oh, okay.
So a child does something in the class. Maybe the child is talking during lessons and something. You just got to get up, you know. You beat the child or something. A child comes late to school. You say, face the wall. have you actually addressed the root cause, okay, of what is actually happening?
Okay.
Now, one approach I use, okay, I don't, when students do things that are wrong in the class, I don't punish. Well, our school policy doesn't even permit that, so I don't do that. I call the children. Now, if you want to go with this discipline approach, not the flogging and all that, you will take your time. That's the truth.
Yeah.
But you will also achieve what you need to achieve. Most times, I first of all call the child. Okay, I talk to the child. I don't start with, you did this. Why did you do this? You know, all that. If you do that, you won't get anything you want from the child. Will do the same thing tomorrow. Do it again next week. Do it.
Be frustrated.
You'll be frustrated. So I call the child. Okay, I treat my students like partners first of all. I give them respect. And I called the child. Oh, you did this today. You were talking, and then asked, why did you do it? Do you think what you did is right? Okay, what are the consequences of this action? Do you know what you did could have affected your classmates and all of that? I let the child see reasons. I don't just what you did is wrong. No. The child himself or herself at some point will realize that, oh, what I did is wrong and I shouldn't do this again. Now, after a child has probably repeated, you know, there'll still be some children or some students that will still keep doing that thing. How do you handle it? Now, at that point, it moves on to the higher authorities in the school. I don't take the authority into my hand to beat the child or no. After I've addressed the issue, I've informed the parents, okay, carrying your parents along in disciplining the child is important. The child has done something, let the child know that, oh, the next time you do this, I'm going to get your parents involved in it. Okay, I'm going to tell them this. After that still doesn't work, I take it to the school authority that now handles it appropriately.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense, because I know I saw a video, was it a month back or so, of a particular, I think it was the owner of the school, and he was also teaching. And then, oh my goodness, he disciplined this lady. You saw it also.
I think I saw it too.
I was scared. I was scared because like the lady she was screaming for her life, saying she wanted to die, and he was like, die. And I'm like, what? It is 21st century. And the amazing part is when they now even went to meet him to make an arrest.
Yes.
He saw the police officer and he was still even being aggressive. I mean, but then I know that the 21st century, you know, teacher goes through a lot, you know. And sometimes I think one of it has to do with when it comes to paying their salaries. And all. Now, would you say that is the reason why some 21st century teachers that know what is right go the other way, go south and do what is wrong because of what you are going through, or because of maybe the salary structure? Or do you think it's a valid excuse for them to behave in certain ways?
It's not a valid excuse. And first of all, I'd like to say that it's not all teachers we have right now that are actually 21st century teachers.
Thank you.
If you don't have the 21st century skills, you don't qualify to be to be called a 21st century teacher. For the issue of remuneration, salaries and all that, as a teacher, your salary might not be all that it is or all that you hope for it to be, but what else are you doing? Most times you have teachers just relaxed. My salary is this, I'll just do it, go to work, come back, sit down at home. What else are you doing? What other avenues or opportunities are you exploring, okay, to get? Now, teachers have the advantage of time. That's the truth. We have the advantage of time. We close, sometimes we are off from work earlier than most people. Even at work, okay, sometimes you have these little bits and pieces. How do you maximize the time you have? You know, you have other people, like people that work in the bank or other places. Sometimes they are working till maybe 5, 6 p.m. They don't get home till late. The teacher is already at home. What are you doing with that time? Are you watching TV? Okay, are you just playing with your phone? Are you chatting? What are you doing to actually add to what you have? I think that's
very, very
major
deep
issue.
and very key. Now, let's go into other things a 21st century teacher should instill in this learner, in the student. Because I know sometimes most teachers feel like you just come to class and teach the curriculum. That is what you're being paid to do. That is what you want to do. But I feel like because these students, you know, because they spend more time with you than even doing their parents. And this is like the formation period of their life. And it determines, it's like the foundation. It determines how they grow, the kind of mentality they grow up with. You know, so what will you say are the other things that a 21st century teacher should help these children with?
Okay, so this is just about like the roles of a teacher. Good. Now, the primary responsibility of a teacher, okay, is to deliver classroom lessons that help the learners to learn effectively. this isn't just going to happen. You're not just going to stand and teach and they're going to learn like that. No.
Yeah.
First of all, okay, quality knowledge of your content area. Students know when you don't know something. When you're coming to their front to bamboozle them, they know that this teacher doesn't. Okay, so quality content knowledge on whatever you want to teach the children. It's a role. It's your responsibility to do that as a teacher.
Okay.
Making resources available for your learners, it's your role, it's your responsibility. Okay, so beyond that now, beyond the primary responsibility of just, there's a teacher's role as a leader, an administrator, a manager. Okay, you're managing people. Okay, as a teacher, you must be able to instill leadership qualities in your students. A teacher is a leader. I think it's something I see every time. If your students can't see you, can't look up to you, you know, as a role model, you know, see some traits in you, maybe not everything, but if they can't pick out one or two things in you that inspires them to be more, if you can't drive them to achieve things without flogging them or punishing them, you are not yet a leader. Okay, as a teacher, you have a role in the community. That's the truth. First of all, you have the role of helping your students know that there is a world beyond this classroom.
Okay.
Okay, the concept of global citizenship is springing up now, and it's something every teacher must instill into the learners.
Okay.
As a teacher, you have a role of taking an active part in your community, looking around, you know, seeing things that need to be changed or seeing things that need to be improved on. Most times we just say, oh, everything is government does it, government. No, what's your own role?
True.
Okay, what are you doing to make things better in your community? I'll use an example of this.
Okay.
There was an event I was privileged to coordinate or plan for. It was an event in January that brought together like different youths across Nigeria. You know, it was a conference basically.
Okay.
And then I looked at the statistics of people that registered for the event. It was a paid event, you know. There were almost 400 people. Then I started checking the PADAD occupation. Okay. You know, I was watching now for teachers, okay? You know, looking at how many teachers were there. And there were like 400 people on that list. And how many teachers were there? Less than 30.
Wow.
And I was like, something isn't just
right
here. So as a teacher, you have the role of being a researcher, being a lifelong learner, okay? Going after knowledge. Basically, you don't just stop on what you already know. You push beyond. Yes, the students will come to you to ask you what is not even related to your content area. You know, I'm a literacy teacher. I've had students come to me to ask me science questions, okay, and I can't just, you know, come up with ideas for them. It's not every time it's okay, go online and check it out. It's your assignment, go and do it. No, sometimes you have to know things for yourself. Invest in yourself, and then you can build up on that.
You know, Kemi, you've been such an amazing guest that I did not want you to go. But then we have to wrap up this interview segment. Thank you so much for coming on the show and teaching us about the 21st century teacher. Yes. Now, to all teachers out there, you are a leader. You are a leader, and as a leader, you create other leaders, you know, in the classroom. Okay? So let's go on the break, and when we come back, tea or coffee continues. Do not go anywhere. We'll be right back.